Hello, everyone, and welcome to Oh the Horror, where we all go mad sometimes. I'm Jack Ellis,
And I'm Matt Ellis.
and today we will be looking at Happy Death Day, starring Jessica Roth. This movie kind of comes as a two birds and one stone situation, because not only is this the week of Groundhog Day, which has a movie that this film is pretty much based on, but also it's my birthday coming up soon on February 17th, so this sort of knocks out both those things. So our film starts with a girl named Tree who wakes up in the dorm room of a man named Carter. She's hungover from a night of partying, and she takes some aspirin and gets dressed and walks out. She is not very nice, especially to the person who's trying to be nice to her. And as she walks out, she is accosted by a climate activist who asks her to sign a petition. People who are studying on the grass who get taken out by sprinklers. A sort of frat hazing thing where people are singing 99 bottles of beer as someone yells at them with a bullhorn. And one guy actually falls over. Tree gets back, or goes near her sorority house, but she bumps into somebody named Tim, who wonders why she has not been calling him. And she sort of shrugs it off, and again is just sort of, I don't know a nice way of saying she's kind of a bitch, but
she is.
She's kind of a bitch.
I mean, there's the mean way of putting it, and then there's the right way of putting it.
She gets to her sorority house where she talks to Daniela. And then Lori gives her a cupcake to eat for her birthday, but she refuses to eat it and leaves for class. I don't know if I said this already, I'm sorry, but I have been sick this past week, which is why we didn't get an upload last week, and I apologize for the sound of my voice. But, what do you think of this opening few scenes?
I thought it was pretty good at kind of like showing and like kind of portraying her as like stuck up and rude and everything without, kind of without overdoing it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I really did not like her when we first get to know her. I mean, we learn later that there's more to it than her just feeling entitled. There's kind of a reason why she acts the way she does, and so that's really all I kind of have to say about the opening.
Yeah, like I said, this movie is heavily inspired by Groundhog Day, and they even talk about it at the end of the movie. And the thing about a movie like that is when you have a pretty clear-cut character arc, when somebody's supposed to be an asshole, you have to at least make them want to watch that. And, if a character is annoying on purpose, they're still pretty annoying. And, I think she's supposed to get on the audience's nerves, but that doesn't make it any less of getting on the audience's nerves, if that makes any sense. It's just sort of hard to watch her in this few minutes just being so inexplicably mean to people who are nice to her, seemingly with no charm, because with Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, he was at least funny and charming. He had wit, but here it just doesn't have that. But I know it's the point, but that was something I particularly didn't like. After her class ends, Tree goes to her professor's office where she actually has an affair with him, but they get interrupted by Dr. Gregory Butler's wife, Stephanie, coming to his office. Tree pretends she's just one of his patients and leaves. This subplot is I really don't see a purpose for it outside of establishing a red herring. Or, I guess not a red herring, but it's fine to me. What do you think of this scene?
Well, we forgot about the one part where they have her sorority has a lunch meeting, and the leader of it, I think Danielle is the president, and this one woman comes over with lunch at a lunch meeting, and Danielle just starts hazing her for it.
Yeah.
Especially when she sees she has chocolate milk because apparently, that sorority doesn't eat carbs or something like that.
Yeah. And I think we've all known somebody like this, the people in the sorority at one point in our lives, especially if you have gone to college. So I did like that aspect of it. Tree is then seen walking alone to a party at night, and a group of people pass her, including a man wearing a baby mask who stares at her. A baby is a weird mascot for a college. I will just say that.
Yeah, I did not get that.
Yeah, if it was just a pretty blonde girl walking alone at night on college campus, at most normal colleges she'd just get raped, but here I think she's about to get killed. She loses him, but walks under a small overpass where a porcelain figurine of 3 people celebrating a birthday is playing Ring Around the Rosie. When Tree goes to look at it, the same man who was staring at her before she shows up, and she thinks it's just a prank until he kills her. I guess this is a good time to talk about the villain of this movie, known colloquially as Babyface. I think it's a pretty good horror villain, if very garden variety. The thing to me is it is very similar to Ghostface. Like, I'm not saying they ripped it off, but like, dark hood, unique mask, uses knife. I suppose that's par for the course, but
hardly ever says a word.
Yeah, and sort of stalks their victims. I guess this is all par for the course in horror movies, but that's just what it reminded me of. But honestly, I think it's a good villain. I mean, I just don't see, like, this movie, we know from the second movie set, like, in September, I don't see why the baby mask couldn't have just been gotten from, like, a Halloween store or something. Like, why did the movie's college have to have a mascot of a baby? I ramble about this, and honestly, the stuff we've talked about so far, most people probably wouldn't give a shit about. But, I think this opening first kill, and there will be more of them, is pretty good, and establishes Babyface as a villain. Even though there's not just one, it's like Ghostface, the killer is different every movie. But, what was your opinion on this scene?
I liked it. I thought the setup for the kill was good, and the kill itself kind of did, like, it made it suspenseful without really dragging it out too much. And I mean, I kind of had to disagree with what you said about how, like, if an attractive woman is walking alone on campus at night, she would normally get raped.
That's just a joke, but yeah.
There really wasn't much that I did have to say about the scene except just, good job.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have to say too. Tree then wakes up in a panic, but again in Carter's room wearing the same clothes. She is confused but does not think much of it until the exact same events from yesterday happen again with all the different things in the courtyard. And I think that first scene set up all these different things excellently, because in a movie like this, you need those certain things to set up that the day will repeat over and over. And she tells her roommate Lori about it, and Lori just thinks she is stressed about it being her late mom's birthday, and tells her to get some rest. She goes to a party that was supposed to happen yesterday, but gets killed there too by the same man, and once again wakes up in Park's bed. There's a couple things to talk about here. First, we should probably talk about Tree's backstory.
And that Tree is short for Teresa, by the way.
Yeah, that's just what she's called in the movie. But, it turns out that she actually shares a birthday with her mother, who passed away recently. And she's been avoiding her dad because she couldn't stand to talk about it. And I think this this part of the movie adds some really great pathos to why she is so mean to people. And, whether or not you like the plotline, I think it's really good. But, of course, I can't be objective because Matt and I both have experienced something very similar to this. And I do like that, as opposed to Groundhog Day, she wasn't just, born an asshole. She, sort of has reasons for it. And I really like the party scene, probably just because not only is the scene in the bedroom really good where he's wearing the baby mask, but, then she thinks it's just him again, but then he tries to kill her. But also that the death is death via broken bong, which I think is just perfect. But,
that's the way I want to go.
Yeah, and, I think of all the kills in this movie, I think that scene and its lead up is probably the best. But, what's your 2 cents on this?
Well, I like that scene too. I liked how it showed the party she was headed to was that she got to go to the second day was a surprise party for her that her friends threw, and that guy that she ended up going upstairs with he was wearing the mask when she got there, and for obvious reasons she flinched and punched him when she first saw him, and of course, a few hours later they wind up going to his room together.
Yeah, I love that scene, not because she punches him, but because there's 40 people in the room, and then when the lights turn on, they're surprise.
Yeah. And then one of them just walks over besides Tree and says, "Yeah, don't mess with a Delta Gamma, bitch."
And, after this, Tree goes to Carter for help, and he advises her that she can kill whoever keeps killing her in her dreams. She can break the cycle. She also tries to find out who the killer might be. She fails many times, both at defending herself and seeing who the killer is. One day she decides to just walk around naked all day, since no one will remember it tomorrow anyway. I do really like that scene. And with a Groundhog Day time loop type situation, imagine if it just picked a random day cycle to be the actual day that happened, and it was that day, and she's just ostracized for it for the rest of her college run.
Yeah.
And one day she actually wakes up in a hospital and is being treated by Dr. Butler, who tells her she should be dead from her stab wounds. Tree leaves when she is alone and manages to steal Dr. Butler's car to escape being pulled over, but is pulled over by a cop who arrests her when she admits to being intoxicated, even though she is not, and she could go to jail and possibly be safer. However, as soon as she is cuffed inside the squad car, the killer runs over the cop with his car and kills Tree by dropping one of those like birthday candles you buy at the store. Lit one of those onto a gas trail that leads to the police car, and she's already there in the car. So I really liked this scene, mainly because it's one of the dark humor scenes in this movie where she's pulled over and she realized, hey, if I'm in jail, I can be safe. It's sort of an inverse of what happened in Groundhog Day, where he just saw, hey, if I go to jail, will I wake up in the same place tomorrow? But she's trying to go to jail. And I like the scene where he's like, she's like, I'm wasted. Yeah, completely. I'm also high, pills, weed, everything. I'm on it.
Pills, weed, needles, you name it.
Yeah. So I do really like the scene, and I do like the inclusion of different elements of celebrating a birthday, such as the cupcake or the birthday card or the birthday candle being actual plot devices and kill weapons, because it sort of makes it feel like it's an actual birthday movie instead of like it just happens to be your birthday. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, the scene where she actually just walks out completely naked, it's like, and the same things, of course, happen as usual, except for everyone looking at her, and the climate protester doesn't approach her during this one.
Yeah.
But, like, the frat guys are all still doing that 99 bottles of beer thing, and the one guy falls over again, although he may this time have lost his balance for a different reason. And it's also, or if he did really faint, you would think that would have just made him wide awake again, but yeah, we also forgot to mention that she does the killer does show up at the hospital before she manages to escape, so that's kind of how that's sort of what rushed her. And she also one night Tree just decided to stay home like all night and even boarded up her windows and barricaded and locked her door.
Oh, yeah.
And the killer actually still got in and killed her, and even was able to do things before getting in, like turning off her lights and her TV and turning them back on and stuff. So yeah, it was, I mean, could you really just imagine what that would be like to just go through, like, having to, like, you wake up every day knowing at the end of the day you're gonna get killed, probably from a stabbing, and then you're just gonna wake up and it's gonna happen all over again? Like, that would be just some kind of living hell.
Yeah, and yeah, I do really like that scene where she's like stuck in the room, but like she boarded up her doors and windows with wood before checking the fucking bathroom. Maybe she deserved to die for that. But
she's a college girl, for God's sake. She should be able to think better.
Yeah. But the next morning when she wakes up, she is able to prove to Carter what she's going through is real by predicting events. While they are talking about it over dinner, Tree also admits, like I said, that she avoids her dad because of her mother. She sees on the news reports of a serial killer named John Toombs, who kills his victims who actually look a lot like Tree and is being treated at the hospital Lori works at. She believes he escapes every day and kills her, and when she gets there, the officer that was in charge of guarding him is already dead. And her and Toombs get in a fight, but Carter also tries to get him and is killed. After she escapes, she realizes that if she gets out of it, that Carter will be dead for good, so she kills herself to avoid that fate. I thought this scene was pretty good as far as setting up that this sort of red herring that we'll realize by the end of the movie, and also she's just kind of badass in this scene. But yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Well, and I really like all this stuff too. And she actually finds out that during all of this, that even though she wakes up hungover in Carter's dorm room, she and Carter didn't actually have sex. Like, she was drunk and came on to him, but he actually took her to his dorm and let her sleep so that she just, I guess, so that no other person would assault her. So, and I mean, we went through the whole thing thinking the opposite, like that he took advantage of a drunk girl, which I thought really wasn't cool. But then we find out he's actually a pretty good guy.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, we find out that Carter is a good guy, but not a nice guy. As there are certain videos you can watch on what the difference is, and you can see that he's nice. Like he's a good person outside of the minimum of not taking advantage of drunk people. But yeah, I do really like his character. And yeah, now that Tree knows who her killer is, she has hope and sees her dad again and makes amends with him. She also stands up to her sorority sister, who often bullies others, like we talked about in the beginning of the movie. And it's always nice seeing a character like this get their just desserts, even if they're not the villain of the movie. They're just kind of really mean. It's always nice, seeing their comeuppance. That night, she goes to the hospital where Toombs is. She starts by holding a knife to the guard's neck and telling him to get help. He runs away, and she goes to John's room, where he appears to be asleep, but attacks Tree before she can kill him. I believe she had a gun, but the safety was still on. They fight, and she manages to kill him and leave the hospital before the cops arrive. She has been seen in her room with Carter celebrating her birthday. Everything seems to go fine until Tree wakes up the next morning, still in the cycle. It's nice that she's trying to be nice and help other people, and it's always kind of heartbreaking to see that she's still in the cycle. And I think the final fight between these two is really good. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I first thought it was kind of presumptuous for her to think. I mean, I guess kind of. No, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, he was for her to just see an escaped serial killer on the news and think that that's her killer. It's like, no, that actually sounds kind of legit.
Yeah, like, okay, I always thought the news report said that he was, like, in the university hospital. I never thought they said he escaped.
No, you're right. This was because she goes there to get him before he escapes. Yeah. So yeah, but she knew he was gonna escape that night, and she figured that every night he just escapes and then goes and kills her, like, that very night.
Yeah, but in the main timeline, I wonder if he even escapes at all. Because when she ever goes to kill him, he's always still in the hospital. Like, does he
I mean, is he? Like, because we know in the main storyline he escapes. He escapes from the hospital, so...
I mean, I could be wrong. It's been a while since I last saw this movie, and I'm pretty sure I am wrong. But that's just one thing I thought of. Do you have anything else to say? I think I pretty much cut you off.
Well, I mean, it's worth mentioning, you'll find this out later, but she does finally eat the cupcake that Lori, her roommate, gave her for her birthday. She actually, after she kills the serial killer, she eats it in her room with Carter, because she actually decides at this point to to start seeing Carter. So, and she also found out while investigating different suspects to see who her killer possibly was that Tim, the guy who got on to her for not returning his messages, is actually gay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. But
and while she's having her good day, she also calls off her affair with Dr. Butler.
Yeah, and I do really like that scene. Not so much as like, I like her sort of reaction to finding out he's gay, because that's always sort of funny. And in the next scene, she does go to her room and packs her bags, preparing to leave town. While packing, her roommate Lori offers her a cupcake as part of the loop, and then she realizes that Lori poisoned the cupcake since she died last night, even though Toombs was killed and she hadn't eaten the cupcake before then. When Lori won't admit it, she tries to take it to the police to see what's in it. However, Lori stops her and admits it, and used her job at the hospital to frame the serial killer for her murders. And that it was because she was jealous that Dr. Butler had an affair with a tree and not her. Tree soon ended the fight by force-feeding the cupcake to Lori and literally kicking her out of the room through the window, which Lori died upon impact. In a movie like this, a reveal like this might seem superfluous, but honestly, I think it is a really good twist. Had the killer just have been John Toombs, who escaped from the hospital and was killing people on a college campus, that would have been fine. It's good slasher fun. But I think there's a heightened element to the fact that there's a mystery element akin to a Scream movie. And I do really like how it's revealed. Honestly, framing a serial killer like John Toombs for murder is like planting weed on Snoop Dogg. I mean, you can do it, but there's not a whole lot of sport in it. I think this scene sort of elevates the movie above what it was, and the sort of character arc she goes through, because when you have a mass killer on a college campus killing college students, you're not thinking Citizen Kane. You're thinking just a good 90 minutes of cheeseball slasher. But I think this movie tries to go the extra mile to be something different, and I do really enjoy and appreciate that. What do you think?
I did really like the movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was...
Well, we're not done with the movie. I was just talking about this scene here in particular.
Well, this scene I actually did like because there was... I guess we're really not at, like, the final.
Yeah, there's not, like, there's a denouement at the end of the movie, but...
I mean, are we at...
We have, like, one more thing to talk about, and then the movie's over.
Okay, well, during the news report, it was funny. They actually, I mean, kind of, but this is also kind of where they went overboard with the stereotyping, where they were interviewing Daniela about the events that had happened, because at this point the cops know everything about Lori trying to frame that one guy and trying to poison Tree and everything, and she just says, yeah, I knew she had to be a psycho, because for one thing, she never posted any cute selfies on Instagram. It's like, who the hell just does that? It was like, okay, that's kind of cheesy, but also pretty funny at the same time.
Wait, so I know we've kind of been long in the tooth on this one, but I was just thinking, we know she poisons the cupcake and attempts to frame Toombs for a murder. Fine. But I know the news cycle was very saturated, but is, like, an attempted murder really, like, front page newsworthy? But I guess the whole falling outside the building thing was probably pretty important. But also, she bakes a poison cupcake and then attempts to frame the serial killer for it. What would she be framing him for? Like, does she think that he went into the house, baked a cupcake, and then gave it to her for no reason? I don't know why that's the motive. I guess the cupcake was plan A, and then as an insurance policy, she could like kill her with like a knife or something and frame the serial killer for it.
Right,
which I think is what happened. But
well, right, but like even if she did that, the poison would have still shown up in the autopsy.
yeah, but those are small things, and I won't discount the movie for that. But they're at the diner and they're looking at the news report. And the next day, she wakes up in Carter's bed, and she thinks his cycle started over, but he's just pranking her. And then they kiss as the movie ends. So, I think that ending is actually really funny. Carter is, nice, but he's also really fun. And yeah, that was Happy Death Day. Do you have anything to say about this little ending they have here?
No, I think I've pretty much let my opinion on the whole movie.
Yeah,
at this point.
And it ends on a shot of a sticker that says today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I think that's a perfect ending to this movie. By no means do I think this is a perfect movie. I think it's a great movie, especially in the context of where the horror genre is now. It's sort of a back-to-basics movie, and it's much in the same vein of something like Scream. And I think, since, for context, this came out in 2017 in the age of things like The Conjuring and Insidious, and when all those things were hot, it was nice to just see a classic man in a mask killing people sort of movie. And I think that its inclusion of a Groundhog Day element was interesting. And I think this movie just shows a lot of ingenuity for the horror genre. What do you think?
I think I agree. I mean, I did think the whole, repeating the same day over and over again, even though that was part of the plot, I still felt like that was kind of made it slower, if you know what I mean.
But yeah, all in all, I would give this movie no knock against it, but I would probably give it a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8.
I give it a 7 out of 10 too.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's very good. Well, anyway, I'll try to upload more regularly if the internet's good and I am not afflicted with any illnesses. But in the meantime, I'm Jack Ellis.
And I'm Matt Ellis.
And this has been Oh the Horror. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.